Brian, this is 4 years in a row you've sat out here at the end of the season. You've talked about the disappointment of making the playoffs. Do you have to make the playoffs next season? Is it mandatory?
I want to make the playoffs every season. I was in the playoffs 7 straight years before I got here. This has been agonizing. I'm sure you can see it in my face. I haven't slept in a month, 2 months. If fans think they're disappointed, I can assure you the general manager is far more disappointed. Whether we have to make the playoffs, that's ownership's right and prerogative, and you can ask someone in ownership.
Right. I guess one thing, given that you have missed the playoffs since you've been here, do you feel that you need a playoff spot to begin building, or is there a sense of frustration that I think people are frustrated, despite missing the playoffs, you don't have those kind of marquee rewards you get from missing, be it elite young drafts or whatever it might be?
This notion of making the playoffs, I said this before. We could have made the playoffs last year. We could have made the playoffs this year. We could have traded first round, this pick that we have in the draft, we could have traded that, gotten a 30-year-old, somehow squeak in. I'm not interested in making the playoffs unless it's as part of a championship. That's the goal here, and it seems a mile away. I understand that. I can see people shaking their heads, but that is the goal. Not to get in the 8th spot, get your ass kicked, and then stand up here and say, yeah, but we're in the playoffs. I'm trying to build a championship team here, and that's very hard to see today. But the building blocks, the keys you need, the Phil Kessels, the Joffrey Lupels, the Jake Gardners, the Dion Phaneufs, the second line, all those things have been put in place. And that's what can't be overlooked as you analyze and dissect a season. Even a season that's marked by failure, I think we're going in the right direction in terms of building for the future. It's just very hard to see that today.
Why has that task, Brian, been more difficult than I'm sure you would have imagined 3.5 years ago?
Well, it's not easy to fix a team that's broken. It's not. And I had no illusions or delusions about that, except that I watch general managers in all sports get up there the first day and they say, we got a 5-year plan. And they're just buying 5 years right out of the gate. And I don't respect that. My view was I was hopeful we could do it quicker. We haven't. But I haven't changed the plan. Like people say, the Phil Kessel deal, we gave up too many draft picks. We have more first-round picks in the system than any other team in the NHL. So as far as Carter Ashton, that group, Jake Gardner, first-round picks that we've acquired. We have our pick this year, our first and our second. It's a young group. We haven't gone old. We haven't tried to Band-Aid things. We're trying to build it. But, yes, it's frustrating. It's been very difficult.
How do you explain Dale Talon then?
Well, they signed
over a worse situation than you did.
They signed a bunch of guys to 4-year contracts. They had a first-year coach. They had a good run. And we'll see if they can sustain that. I like Dale Talon very much, and I admire him. But again, I'm not interested in making the playoffs one time so I can stand up here and say we made the playoffs.
What about the Marley situation, Brian? I mean, do you have to temper the enthusiasm that people seem to have over the team? I mean, how many legitimate prospects do you have down there? And maybe there's a couple guys people don't even talk about.
Well, I'll leave that to you guys, how many legitimate prospects you think there are. You can... Well, you can speculate all you want. I'm not going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about the Marlies. I think we have a number of legitimate prospects there. And I don't want to temper anyone's enthusiasm because we're hopeful that team's going to take a deep run.
What do you think of Kadri going forward now? Are you still hopeful that he can be a legitimate star player in the National Hockey League?
Well, I've never said he was going to be a star, but I think he can play in the NHL and he's going to play in the NHL. And I think there's a number of players there that are going to play in the NHL, and some of them next fall.
You're about improving the home ice record, improving the atmosphere. Are you getting any closer to this?
Well, at February 6th, you would have said yes. So, I mean, in my mind, it's really 2 seasons. And you can't separate them. We've done that. We've stood up here and said, yeah, we had a good second half last year and a good first half. And if somehow we can convince the league to meld the seasons, we'll be fine. It doesn't work that way. But I think the atmosphere in the building improved this year. I think people were solidly behind this team. I think we have great fans. But we didn't deliver.
How tough will it be for you in this offseason to make trades with the assets you have? Do you think you're going to have to pull off some Jake Gardner type trades?
Well, I mean, Jake Gardner was a revelation for us too. We haven't no one's standing up here thumping their chest saying that we knew he was going to be this good this soon. In fact, we had him penciled in for the Marlies. And he came in and said, screw it, I'm going to make the team, and he did. But we need to address the size of the group and the compete level of the group. And that's what we're going to do through trades.
Is that tough, though, you think, with the assets you have? I mean, you've been known to pull some rabbits out of the hat. I mean, do you find that you're going to have to hit a home run to, upgrade this team with the assets you have to trade with?
I think we have assets that we can make the deals we need to make, yes.
Brian, you mentioned that you and Ron differed in terms of the way you like to build your team. When you had an opportunity to improve the team at the trade deadline, did that hamper your ability to do so, just given what Ron's fundamentals were?
I didn't like the price tags at the trade deadline. I don't like the trade deadline. I feel that very little in general, there are exceptions, very little that's done at the trade deadline impacts the team. I try and do it a month before. I try and make my key deals a month in advance of the deadline. Wasn't able to do it. And at the deadline, to me, everything we got offered was either stripping, so we got a first-round pick offered for Clark MacArthur from a team that would pick 26 to 30. And our fans wait for 3 more years till that player, if he turns out to be a player, our fans wait for 3 more years. I said, no, I'm not doing it. And I didn't like the price tag on the rentals. Second and third round picks for guys that might walk at the end of the season, I didn't like the price tags. And we made a conscious decision, we're going to do the right thing for the organization long term and keep those assets. No panic and no stepping back. We're not stepping back and trading 3 guys for first round picks and make our fans wait.
Will you look at making any front office changes?
No. No.
The roster do you think you have to change, Brian, when we remember that this isn't a team that was fighting for the conference title all season and suddenly fell to 9th. It was a team that was scratching and clawing to stay in 8th, fell to 12th or 13th, whatever it is. Is there a number in mind that you think, okay,
No.
20 players?
No, it's a fair question, but I don't have the answer.
Brian, given your penchant for big players, for truculence, how angry were you in that 8-0 game against Boston when it looked like your team was being intimidated by the Stanley Cup champs?
I was not pleased with that. That to me is, I like teams that go into buildings and dictate how games are played, not get dictated to. And that's going to change. And I was very unhappy with that game.
If you look at anything that you did or said in the years leading up to now that you might have done differently. For instance, I think I remember a news conference like this, one of the first ones, where you talked about the playoffs and you talked about how you were going to take this team there. And I'm curious, in a market like this, if people need to hear a bit more of the patience, the Pittsburgh model, or the other teams that struggled for years.
What's the Pittsburgh model?
They struggled for years and got draft picks.
They got a lottery. They won a goddamn lottery, and they got the best player in the game. Is that available to me? Should we do that? Should we ask the league to have a lottery this year? And maybe we pick first? The Pittsburgh model, my ass. I mean, they got the best player in the game in the lottery. Ray Shero's done a good job. He's an excellent GM, and he's a friend of mine, but I love when people talk about the Pittsburgh model. The simple fact is they got the best player in the draft. We came in second that year in Anaheim. We got Bobby Ryan out of that. Impact player, good player. They got Sidney Crosby in the lottery. So are there things that I wish I'd said differently? You guys can dissect those. When I get up here, I try and answer honestly, and I'm not a patient person. I was born impatient, and I'm going to die impatient. I don't like what's happened here. I don't like our lack of progress. Obviously, I'm driving the bus. I'm ultimately responsible. I'm not happy with where we are today. I thought we'd be farther ahead than we are right now.